Good morning. Welcome to First Unitarian. My name is Denise, and I am your worship associate this morning. I'm going to start by apologizing. It's been a hot minute since I've been up here to do this, so I am sure I'm going to mess up something, and I'm not using coffee as my excuse this time. Whether you are a visitor or a longtime member, we are glad that you're here with us, whether you are joining us in person or online. Our community is a rainbow of gender and sexual identities. It's a community of diverse cultural and class backgrounds. We draw from many sources of inspiration and share common liberal religious values. If you are joining us online, we encourage you to create a YouTube account and sign in when you're online watching. This gives you the ability to comment and submit joys and concerns. If you're here with us in the sanctuary, we invite you to join us for coffee downstairs after the service. Whatever is on your heart, and however it is with your soul in this moment, whether tears have fallen from your eyes in this past week, or gleeful laughter has spilled out of your smiling mouth, whether you are feeling brave or brokenhearted, defiant or defeated, fearsome or fearful, you are beloved and you are welcome here. As always, there's lots of things going on here at the church, and we invite members, friends, to join us. I'm going to cover a couple of announcements that we have going on, and then also you can check the e-news online, and I think there are some flyers out in the lobby. The first is our annual Halloween Heart and Hand auction, which is in person again this year. Yay! Right? So costumes.
It has been years.
Exactly. Like Nellie said, it has been years. Even longer for me, because the last time I was at a Heart and Hand auction was like 4 years ago, I think, because I ran away for a while. This year's event will be on hybrid, so we will have online and in person. The online stuff will be ahead of time. There's information on that on the website. There's an auction website specifically. If you go to the church's website and click the auction button, it will take you there. And our in-person event is Friday, October 29th from 6 to 9. During coffee hour, there will be an auction table downstairs, so if you have things you would like to donate, please see the people at the table. I think it's going to be Mark. So see Mark, and he will help you fill out your forms, donate generously, have a good time. We also have, after church today, at noon, visitors are invited to join the membership coordinator, Melissa Gibson, in the Merit Lounge for a First Steps meeting. This will be a time to learn more about Unitarian Universalism and our church's membership process. Childcare will be provided, so after the service, we invite you to grab some coffee and a snack and meet Melissa in the Merit Lounge, which is on this floor over in the corner out this door. If you have any questions, find Melissa and she can answer them for you. And lastly, please join the members of the Atheist, Humanist, and Agnostic group, otherwise known as AHA. They are a community of First UU that explores the connection with Unitarian Universalism, and they're going to be looking at practical ways to live our shared values embodied in the 7 principles. Their first meeting will be on Thursday at 7 p.m. via Zoom, and they will be focusing on the 7th principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. There's a flyer out in the foyer, and you can also check out on the website. Are there any other announcements that I missed or that should be done today? Speak now or forever hold your peace until next Sunday. Awesome. I would like to invite Erica and Otto to come up and light our chalice. And I invite you to speak the chalice lighting words with me once they get up here. Spark of the Spirit, cupped in earth's embrace, light of love, alive in all creation. As we kindle this flame, we rekindle our connection to the sacred web of life. Thank you. you so much. All right, and we invite you to stand if you are comfortable and join us in our opening hymn, number 301, Touch the Earth, Reach the Sky. Hello. Oh, there we go. Hello, thank you. Oliver has also reminded me to ask everyone if you could please turn your Wi-Fi off on your cell phones, either just disconnect from the Wi-Fi or put it in airplane mode. This helps our connection to the internet so that those joining us online get a clear picture. It's also a good time to remember to silence your phones, which I just did because I forgot to do mine. So now is the time for our story for all ages. We're going to have the pictures up here on the screen. And I'm going to attempt to remember how to read a story. Young and young at heart, if you guys want to come up so you can see better. There we go. What do I push, Oliver? That works. I told you I was going to mess something up. There we go. Haha, now I got it. All right, so today we are reading We Are the Water Protectors by Carol Lindstrom and illustrated by Michaela Gold. Water is the first medicine, Nokomos told me. Oh. I'm just going to not touch that. We come from water. It nourished us inside our mother's body as it nourishes us here on Mother Earth. Water is sacred, she said. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. The river's rhythm runs through my veins, runs through my people's veins. My people talk of a black snake that will destroy the land, spoil the water, poison plants and animals, wreck everything in its path. When my people first spoke of the black snake, they foretold that it wouldn't come for many, many years. Now the black snake is here. Its venom burns the land, courses through the water, making it unfit to drink. Take courage. I must keep the black snake away from my village's water. I must rally my people together to stand for the water, to stand for the land, to stand as one against the black snake. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. It will not be easy. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves, the winged ones, the crawling ones, the four-legged, the two-legged, the plants, trees, rivers, lakes, the earth. We are all related. Tears like waterfalls stream down, tracks down my face, tracks down my people's faces. Water has its own spirit, Nokomis told me. Water is alive. Water remembers our ancestors who came before us, she said. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. We are stewards of the earth. Our spirits have not been broken. We are water protectors. We stand. The black snake is in for the fight of its life. I'm not reading all of that. But if you're interested, and you can find this book at the library, which is where Miss Mary Kay found it, there's more information in here in how we can protect the water and how the, and I'm going to mispronounce this and I apologize, Ojibwe culture has stood to protect the water for centuries. Thank you, guys. All right, now we actually have a video that we're going to show. This is a message of Unitarian Universalists expressing Article 2 of our principles and purpose.
We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association.
We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association.
We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association.
We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote
the inherent worth and dignity of every person,
justice, equity, and compassion in human relations,
acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations,
a free and responsible search for truth and meaning,
the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large,
the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all.
Respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part.
The living tradition which we share draws from many sources. Direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life.
Words and deeds of prophetic people which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love.
Wisdom from the world's religions which inspires us in our ethical and spiritual life.
Jewish and Christian teachings which call us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbors as ourselves.
Humanist teachings which counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science and warn us against idolatries of the mind and spirit.
Spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature.
Grateful for the religious pluralism which enriches and ennobles our faith, we are inspired to deepen our understanding and expand our vision.
As free congregations, we enter into this covenant, promising to one another our mutual trust and support.
The Unitarian Universalist Association shall devote its resources to and exercise its corporate powers for religious, educational, and humanitarian purposes.
The primary purpose of the association is to serve the needs of its member congregations, organize new congregations, extend and strengthen Unitarian Universalist institutions, and implement its principles.
Systems of power, privilege, and oppression have traditionally created barriers for persons and groups with particular identities, ages, abilities, and histories.
We pledge to replace such barriers with ever-widening circles of solidarity and mutual respect.
We strive to be an association of congregations that truly welcome all persons and commit to structuring congregational and associational life in ways that empower and enhance everyone's participation.
Nothing herein shall be deemed to infringe upon the individual freedom of belief which is inherent in the Universalist and Unitarian heritages, or to conflict with any statement of purpose, covenant, or bond of union used by any congregation, unless such is used as a creedal test.
Alrighty. So in the spirit of I forgot something, each week we acknowledge that where we meet for worship as the First Unitarian Church of Omaha is the land of the Omaha, Otoe, Missouri nations, and that Indigenous people in the greater community have become marginalized and made invisible. May we recognize their presence among us and work with them to resolve the issues of poverty, displaced children, and the murdered and missing Indigenous women. I gotta pay better attention to my notes. Now is the time in our service where we take up the collection to help us keep this church going. Each month, half of the loose change collected goes to a local group that shares our UU values. These groups are picked at the beginning of the year, and our Share the Plate recipient for October is our sister church food pantry at Clare Memorial United Methodist. We also have a monthly food collection in the pantry, and we ask that you give with a generous spirit and heart as you are able. Each week, we share the joys and concerns of our members, our friends, and those in our community. We ask them to be submitted ahead of time online, or if you're here in the sanctuary, there are little cards that you can fill out. And also for those of you online, if you have something you'd like us to lift up at this time, if you put it in the chat on YouTube, once I'm done with the in-person ones, Colin will read off anything that comes in online. So first, from our own Reverend Woodbury, she found joy this last week when she learned about 2 of our members doing good things. Recent YRUU graduate, River Magasana, was quoted in the front page of the World Herald article and recognized as a success story of the Teachers Scholars Academy program. River started college this fall and is on a path to becoming a teacher who can support all students, including those with learning disabilities. We are so proud of River. And also, Linda Parker appeared in a conversation with Tony Vargas in a Wall Street Journal article about the current influences on voters for midterm elections. And she also put in a little note that our UU the Vote team is gearing up again to help get out the vote. So if you do participate in our political process, get out and vote. A not so joyful thing, Harriet Major has shared that several members of her family are dealing with some health concerns. Her grandson, Ryan Major, Jamie and Sandy's son, is slowly recovering from a frightening car accident. His car was totaled, and he has multiple bruises, aches, and pains from the accident. Her daughter, Nancy, is in constant and severe pain from a fall, and her daughter-in-law, Donna, was taken to the ER for problems with breathing, and they're still trying to figure out the cause. So please keep Harriet and her family in your thoughts, and if you pray, in your prayers. Do we have anything, Colin?
We have one from Cindy Nather saying, I found out yesterday on her 75th birthday that my stepmother died 10 days ago.
Okay. And then I ask that if there's anything in your heart that you want to hold on to, know that we are here to support you and to lift you up or hold your hand. Next, we have, in lieu of a meditation, we have what Mary Kay calls a contemplative video. This is a video on the doctrine of discovery by Oren Lyons, Sid Hill, and the Haudenosaunee Iroquois people. If I pronounced that incorrectly, I apologize.
I think we always wondered why did they think it was right or just to do what they did was, to take our lands and to push us off our lands and try to eliminate us as a people. And then we discovered this doctrine of discovery, and it just kind of made things understandable as to where they got their direction from.
When Columbus landed, and he went back and he reported, and they said then, the leaders, and the Vatican was the most powerful voice in the world at that time. A papal bull, 1493, 1 year later. If there are no Christian nations in this new land you have discovered, I declare those lands to be empty. Terra nullius, very old Roman law that had been exercised in Africa, India, Europe. Further, if there are people there and they are not Christians, they do not have a right of title to land. They have only the right of occupancy. From our perspective, the same right as a rabbit running on the ground or a turkey or a deer or a buffalo or an Indian. They do not have a right of title to land. 1823, Supreme Court Justice John Marshall adjudicating the case, Johnson versus McIntosh. Two white men arguing over Ohio Indian land. He says, you boys have it all wrong. Don't you understand? This was settled long ago. They don't have a right of title to land. And he moved that principle into U.S. federal law, 1823. The doctrine of discovery became the doctrine of law today. Christian doctrine, specific. Wasn't Muslim doctrine, wasn't Jewish doctrine, Christian. And it prevails. It's here. It's a reality. But most people don't understand that, and most people don't know that. We didn't even understand that on 1990, 1991, when I first really said, wow, what's the doctrine of discovery? What is that? A young man by name was Steve Newcomb said, I got something, you guys gotta see it. Came out of Peru. Came out of people down there that were really digging. It was a unspoken conspiracy by states going on all those years. Shh, don't tell the Indians. We found out anyway. Eventually, finally. 2007, Oneida versus New York. Court case. First notation by a Supreme Court Justice, doctrine of discovery. 2007. It's not alive. I think it's alive and well. 30-year court case for Onondaga Nation, dismissed out of hand. Oh, you guys were too slow, it's too late. Let's make up, new latches, we'll call it. Besides, it's disruptive to our people. That's what the justice said. It's disruptive. No discussion about our people and about justice and about what's right. The American people don't know about this. Well, it's time they learn. It's time they learn because it's going to take all of us. It's going to take all of us. And I would be very, very, very careful about stamping out the last place that's holding the line the hardest. Haudenosaunee Six Nation. That's holding the line the hardest. For the common good. For the good of all. For the future. That's what I have to say.
Now we would like to invite our amazingly talented choir to come on up and sing us a song.
This morning's piece is titled Your Song, and it's words and music by Mark Burroughs.
So you guys have heard me mention Mary Kay a few times today. This is actually her service, and Douglas and I are just stepping in. She's actually off traveling and celebrating her birthday, which was this week. So when she comes back, she's 60. Wish her a happy birthday. Our sermon today is one that Douglas will be reading. It is taken from material by Huddy Kottman and Niskithe Prayer Camp. So you're up, Douglas.
All right. I want to thank Mary Kay Peters, who, as Denise has just said, is off on a vacation, and she's celebrating her birthday. Happy birthday, Mary Kay, if you're watching. So we're very happy for her for that. She's put together the whole service, including the remarks that I'm going to be reading. They're a compilation of various sources, and she's asked me to deliver it. So I'm going to do that now. The first part is taken from Heidi Kottman, a UU minister. She says, suppose you had a time machine, but it only went back in time to specific events. If you used the time machine, you could only be a witness. You could not influence the events in any way, and no one would be aware of your presence. Would you use it? It's an interesting proposition. Bearing witness to significant but uncomfortable moments in history, changing nothing, but seeing the truth of it play out. She quotes Maya Angelou. There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you. Bearing witness is a term that refers to sharing our experiences with others, most notably in the communication of traumatic experiences. And while some stories are sweeter than others, all long for the benefit and necessity of a witness. That which assures, And while some stories are sweeter than others, all long for the benefit and necessity of a witness, that which assures us that our stories are heard, contained, and transcendent of time. Bearing witness is also an act of compassion, empathy, solidarity, and justice. Bearing witness is holy. Humanity is at its most powerful and transformative when we experience the truth of one another. Some of you may be thinking to yourselves that you don't need to see pain up close and personal to feel empathic or to understand injustice. None of us here needs to observe from the edges of a slave auction to know how terrifying and depraved those auctions were. We don't need to spend a day suffering at the hands of European Christian invaders who considered indigenous peoples less than human. Except it isn't just about knowing that these things were wrong. It's about understanding in our bones what it means that the historical trauma of genocide is now built into every Native American family's DNA. And slavery is built into the DNA of every African American family. It's about facing our national history and understanding what we are capable of. Before we settlers colonized the land in Nebraska, people from many indigenous nations lived along the Missouri River and the Platte River. Over to the Salt Creek Basin, I wasn't aware of this, in the Lincoln area. The state of Nebraska gets its name from the Oto-Missouri tribe, from two words, Nibratge, which means water flat. This name came from the Platte River, which, as you know, flows through the state of Nebraska, and some places move so slowly and calmly that it is flat. But they say an inch deep and a mile wide. The state of Missouri and the Missouri River are both named after the Missouri tribe, who once lived here and controlled traffic and trade along the Missouri River and its tributaries. By 1714, the Otos had settled in a village on the Salt Creek tributary of the Platte River in what is now Lancaster County. By 1798, their relatives, the Missourias, joined them there after most of the tribe was decimated by disease and death. The Oto and Missouria were the first tribes to hold council with Lewis and Clark in Lewis and Clark's official role as the representatives of President Thomas Jefferson. The captains presented the chiefs with a document that offered peace while at the same time establishing sovereignty of the United States over the tribe. They were later relocated to Indian Territory of Oklahoma, part of what's known as the Trail of Tears. Many other indigenous nations also hunted along Salt Creek and its tributaries and harvested salt for centuries from its deposit in the basin. The Omaha called this land Niskithe, or saltwater. Women used eagle feathers to collect the salt, which the people used to cure buffalo meat. To this day, the land remains a place of intertribal gatherings. This area is now known as Wilderness Park in Lincoln, southwest Lincoln. It consists of 1,472 acres. It is the city's largest park. And some of the adjacent land also belonged to the Catholic Diocese of Lincoln. But the site still holds cultural and religious significance to the indigenous community. It's also the site of one of their oldest ceremonial sweat lodges, or Inipi. One indigenous leader, Kevin Aberesk, says the sweat lodge predates the federal Indian Religious Freedom Act of 1978. And just to put this into perspective, these ceremonies had been taking place for centuries, and the United States government had outlawed them, and then in its greatness, passed the Federal Indian Religious Freedom Act, 1978, a law that restored the right of Native people to practice their traditional ceremonies. These rights include, but are not limited to, access to sacred sites, freedom to worship through traditional ceremonial rites, and the possession and use of objects traditionally considered sacred by their respective cultures. Prior to this act, many aspects of the Native American religions and the sacred ceremonies had been prohibited by law, though they had been practiced, as I understand it, underground, as it were. But in the spring of 2021, the Catholic Diocese of Lincoln sold a 75-acre tract of land of the sacred ceremonial grounds to a local developer, Manzito Incorporated, to build the Wilderness Crossing development. So family homes, townhomes, apartments, and a 30,000 square foot retail space, a mall. This action was approved by the City of Lincoln Planning Commission on April 25th this year, 2022, despite vigorously voiced complaints from the Native community. So one night last May, Native community members set up a peaceful prayer camp on the Catholic Diocese-owned land adjacent to their sacred ceremonial grounds. Their statement reads, "Today we are here holding prayer space in a peaceful manner in an attempt to bring light to our cultural and spiritual practices. We are here today so that those who attempt to erase our voice, erase our history, erase our identity, will know that they will never win. We are here because we won't be forgotten. We are here because we won't be pushed back into the history books. We are here because we won't be erased. After occupying the land for 3 weeks, they decided that they would take down the Inipis and resist now through the legal system by filing a zoning appeal. The appeal asks the Lincoln City Board to reverse an earlier approval of the project. The public hearing was set for Friday, September 30. I think that was just last Thursday. I have not gotten an update on that. But going back to the UUA action of immediate witness from 2020, so this statement is from the UUA in 2020. Back then, they were already supporting the Niskithe prayer camp. We, the delegates of the 2020 General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Association, call upon the UUA and its member congregations, us, to continue to gather in solidarity with all indigenous peoples struggling to preserve their lands, waters, the people themselves, sacred sites, and sovereignty. Work nationally, statewide, and locally on public policy that is decolonizing, such as bearing witness to the Niskithe prayer camp and supporting the resistance work, continuing through the zoning commission appeals and upcoming court cases. So the UUA was in on this early. 3, work to stop and reverse ecological harm in genuine collaboration with and taking leadership from communities most consistently and harshly impacted by extractive exploitation of land, water, air, and all beings. And finally, research, identify, and acknowledge the indigenous peoples historically and currently connected with those that are historically and currently connected with the land occupied by congregations, such as we have in our statement, and find ways to act in solidarity with or even partner with those indigenous peoples. I always use the term peoples, recognizing that there are many different nations, different tribes within the whole continent throughout the West. Every day, Mary Kay goes on, every day news headlines are filled with evidence that we as a country have failed to fulfill the ideals of liberty and justice for all. We are a nation founded on genocide and oppression of indigenous peoples and the enslavement of men, women, and children of Africa. But America has still not fully faced our history of settlement, colonization, and oppression. We did not come out of that time and acknowledge what we've done. Some of us made excuses or tried to compromise with racism in other ways. Some looked away in apathy. Others have looked away in discomfort. We cannot yet make it right because we do not yet bear witness to the full truth. Let me say that again. We cannot yet make it right because we do not yet bear witness to the full truth. This is a land proclaiming to be free. We hear talk of our inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But we also see the history of local indigenous peoples and land and rights they've lost along the way. It's easy to want to look away right now. These truths can be difficult and complicated. Bearing witness to what is happening around us now can be hard and uncomfortable. It's also easy to feel hopeless, to realize that even today we still see a path for the local indigenous peoples in our area that leads to cultural and religious erasure. She quotes C.S. Lewis, who says, and I've degenderized the statement, progress means getting nearer to the place you want to be. And if you have taken a wrong turn, then to go forward does not get you nearer to where you want to be. If you are on the wrong road, progress means doing an about turn and walking back to the right road. And in that case, the person who turns back soonest is the most progressive. That is what we ask. Do not turn away and do not lose hope. Face what we are doing and have done. Find hope that there are more and more voices rising against our complicity. And if you cannot find hope, then become hope. Ready your lives to be the love in action for others. Please, I ask you to pray with me now. Great Spirit of divine love, Spirit of life, we humble ourselves before love. We bow our heads and ask for compassion in our treatment of all other living beings in this interconnected web and earth around us. And we commit ourselves to the work of abundant love and healing. We face ourselves as individuals and as a people. We acknowledge our complicity in a systemic oppression and cultural erasure and the brokenness which allows it to flourish in these lands. We see the harm inflicted on others and the new cycles of brokenness that we witness. And we commit ourselves to the work of abundant love and healing. We do not turn away from victims of oppression and human rights violations. We hold the entirety of the experience for all those who suffer in our community, and we commit ourselves to the work of abundant love and healing. And finally, we humble ourselves to each other, knowing we cannot change the past, but we can build a different future. We commit ourselves to the work of abundant love and healing. Great Spirit of divine love, Spirit of life, we bear witness today to the resistance of the indigenous peoples still here in the Niskithe Basin, and we commit ourselves to the work of abundant love and healing. And this is the activism that is being called for. Stand on the side of love. Activism is a journey that must be taken over and over again. And I will announce the closing hymn, page 168, One More Step. I'll just mention before I stop here that one of the main proponents of what's needed for the Niskithe prayer camp is the ACLU of Nebraska, and they have made many statements, and they're very active in this, and took it before the city council this last week. I'll try to get an update as soon as possible. Thank you.
One more step.
Our closing words today are by Vine Deloria Jr. Who will find peace with the lands? The future of humankind lies waiting for those who will come to understand their lives and take up their responsibilities to all living things. Who will listen to the trees, the animals and birds, the voices of the places of the land? As long as forgotten peoples of the respective continents rise and begin to reclaim their ancient heritage, they will discover the meaning of the lands of their ancestors. That is when the invaders of the North American continent will finally discover that for this land, before any final solution to American history can occur, a reconciliation must be effected between the spiritual owner of the land, American Indians, and the political owner of the land, American whites. Guilt and accusations cannot continue to revolve in a vacuum without some effort at reaching a solution. Thank you for joining us today, and may you have a lovely, sunshine-filled day.